Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in again. Welcome back to Trust the Podcast. This is our fifth episode, joined once again by the boys, Cody, Tyler, and Andy. And today we have our first special guest, Jake. How you doing,
Oh
Jake?
shit.
Oh, I'm special.
In more
Man.
ways than
Wow. I
one.
was about to say.
Boys, we gonna need a shorter bus.
Oh man. I'll drive the bus, don't you worry.
When people see the three of us rolling up anywhere, we're gonna need a shorter bus.
Jesus. Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate the offer, the invite, and the opportunity to contribute.
We're glad to have you, and I think our first topic, Tyler want to talk about the pricing for games recently.
Absolutely. Okay, so as we all know, inflation's a thing. Okay. It's hitting our video games, man. It's coming. We're getting $70 games now. Diablo 4 was one of the most recent ones. I think Call of Duty was another one that was $70. And one of the things. Oh, what? Sorry.
Both the last CODs have been 70.
Dude,
Oh,
that
really?
new
Oh, shoot.
Suicide
Modern Warfare
Squad
2
game
and-
that just came out is 70.
$70.
Modern Warfare
Okay,
2
so
and 3.
yeah, so we got a lot of video games that are starting out 70 that were, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, would have been $60 games.
It's the new model. I think it was because of the PS5. That's where it started.
It is. Sony.
Oh,
started,
okay.
I think, don't quote me on this, but I think Sony started charging developers more to put games on their platform.
Oh, interesting.
So games went up in price as a response.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
see.
that's interesting. I didn't really know the history on why it was going up, but
Steam also, within the last couple of years, raised the percentage of profit they take from video game developers.
yeah, didn't it go up like a couple
It's
I don't
it's
know,
like
5 or
20%
6%
or
now?
something like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it went up.
Damn.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because the other one, Epic Games, it's actually gone down apparently, right?
Yeah, they're trying to
Compared to
compete with
Steam?
Steam, so they drop their rates to try and get more developers to put games on their platform.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
crazy. So I guess one of the things I kind of want to bring up was that apparently it's being rumored that GTA 6 is going to be $100 for the base game,
Jesus.
which is kind of crazy because I think the GTA 5 came out in 2013, I believe, and that was a $60 game.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, 11 years later, I guess it'd be 12 years later when it's released, but it doesn't sound outrageous. But then when you're looking at it now, you're like, whoa, $100 for video games? Like,
Insane.
I don't know where it seems crazy. I mean, yeah. And then the other thing that I like, the support that I saw in the article was they were saying that Call of Duty outsold every other Call of Duty ever in the first like 3 days, even with the price increases. So people are saying that a lot of these companies now are just going to start increasing their game prices because they are realizing that people are basically paying whatever for video games right now.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing about that though, is I genuinely believe we've been lucky that games have stayed at 60 for as long as they have. Because if you
Right.
think about it, let's go back when the standard was first set. Halo, the original Halo Combat Evolved, was a brand new game, 2001, and that was $60, and every game ever since basically has been 60. But I'm looking
Yeah.
at an inflation calculator right now.
Right.
In 2001, $60.
$60 is about the average. It was 40 to 60 still. I mean, it really
Yeah.
hasn't changed until
Yeah.
recently.
No, but I've got
Yeah.
an inflation calculator up. $60 in 2001 is worth $103 today.
Damn. And
Right.
see, that
Aside
makes
from
sense.
that-
$100.
But here's the crazy thing too is that you have AAA game companies that are raising their games when their games can't compete with indie
Indie
developers who are
Yeah.
selling their games at $30 to $40. I mean, Pal World is taking off, Enshrouded is taking off.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
these are games that can get 1 million people in less than a week to download their game. So that means that
Mhm.
they bought, they watched a person on Twitch and were inspired enough to buy the game. I mean, I feel like the AAA game companies are wasting their time and their money paying employees to make a refurbished game and then price hiking it. They can probably just make more money if they were to decrease the amount of money that people have to pay for their game.
So that's true. a couple things to go off with this. First, like just barring inflation, obviously, given the way the economy's been the past couple of years, going back to that example of Halo 1 coming out in 2001, the 2008 economic crisis, the COVID, the COVID Great Recession, all that stuff, and now we find ourselves in a period of rampant inflation. That's naturally going to that's naturally going to produce a climate in which, even with consumers having more access to the technology required to even host these games, it's gonna see price hikes. Add on top of that, requirements for game dev subscription services like Unreal Engine 5 or 6, all of the modeling and programming software they use, and employee wage costs. The cost of developing a game has gone up as well.
Yeah.
The point
That's actually one
about
thing.
Oh, I was going to say the point about indie developers being able to compete with AAA game developers and AAA titles and AAA studios, I think has some merit. I would say that games like Pal World and Enshrouded are not the rule; they are the exception, because with Pal World, explicitly there has been a lot of attention on that game because it's a very obvious Pokemon either parody or homage or ripoff, depending on where you stand on that sliding scale. And we're still waiting to see if Nintendo's going to take action on it, which has got game media all abuzz.
Well, they've already tried, and basically they got told to fuck off.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest,
Yeah.
both companies are both located in Japan. It's not like Pal World's located in the United States. So if there was any legal trouble, it would have been civil on a civil statute, meaning the process would have
yeah.
already have been done by now. Why would they have had to have wait? The only process of having to wait would meant if it was an international problem, but it's not an international problem. And both
Nintendo's based in Japan,
and the developer of Pal World is also
so is
based
Pal
in
World, yeah.
Japan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so it's a civil lawsuit, and meaning the process of filing the lawsuit and going to court would have been much quicker, and it would have been done by now. And Pal World's been in development for 3 years. It's not like it was created overnight.
And
So
Nintendo is
they've known about
notorious
they've known
Pursuing.
about
for
this.
trying to do stuff,
Sue.
and if they were going to do anything, they would have been able to do it already. Also, to kind of riff off what you said there for a second, Jake, as far as like the indie games that are doing really well right now kind of being the exception and not the rule, at the moment I agree with you, but it's kind of trending towards becoming the rule. You know what I mean? Because there's been a ton of them that have come out lately that have been absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I
agree. I think that's a fair observance to make. I don't think it's a fair assertion to make that indie studios will take over AAA game studios until we can observe more concrete data. I think
there has to be more time. It's only been a little while.
Yeah.
And
I
then
mean,
another
I
thing,
think AAA studios can get away with it because yes, they do sell $70, $80 games. The price of going up, but they also have free to play games, which is where most of their money's coming into the first place.
Yeah,
Blizzard.
that's very true.
Yeah, like
Cosmetic
Overwatch or
microtransactions.
Fortnite or
Yeah, the thing that really gets me about the price hikes for games, AAA games, it isn't that the price is going up necessarily. Like that sucks, and I don't want to pay more for games because I'm paying $60 my whole life.
yeah.
But
It's dumb and annoying, but
the thing about it is the AAA game studios aren't making good games.
No.
anymore.
Yeah, that was what I was gonna say.
They aren't making games that I want to pay $70 to
worth
$100 for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I regret buying the new Call of Duty. It
100%.
Yeah.
It's fucking awful.
I agree.
We
Especially
played-
for
So is
price hike,
Diablo.
too.
Diablo 4 sucks. Compared to the old Diablos, just an awful game.
Well, and Diablo 4 is having a
They
DLC.
had the audacity. Yeah, they had the audacity to charge you $70, and then immediately, within like 3 months of the game coming out, they were like, "Oh, here's a DLC. You need to pay us an additional $40."
No, it was 70, bro.
Or yeah, was it another?
It was
70?
70. Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's
Yeah,
70.
so 70 for about a third of a game.
Yeah,
and
so
then
that's
another
what I'm kinda
70
getting to.
for a DLC that's probably not even good. I don't know. I only played that game for like 3 days because it sucks.
Right. Well, and like I guess like Robert and I, when we talked about this, I was like, "Will you buy GTA 6 for 100?" And Robert, what did you say?
I don't like. I do this because I say the same thing with COD every year. I'm like, man, I'm probably not gonna buy COD. Oh, it looks
There it
like
is.
shit. Oh, I don't want to pay 70. But then, you know, like the one we just did, the Modern Warfare 3, the hype starts coming out. Gaming being in kind of a drought also impacts with this because you're like, oh, I don't want
Absolutely.
to play the same 3 games, or oh, I
Mhm.
want to try and find a new game we can play with friends. And kind of because like Cody and I played the new Modern Warfare 2 last year, and it was fun. It was all right. But, you know, like playing with 2 people versus playing with like 5 or 6, the more people you have, the more fun. So
Yeah.
when your other friends are like, oh, I might be looking into getting this game, then you're like, okay, I'll probably get it. Like that's what it was with Diablo. All you
Yeah.
guys were wanting to get it, and then I was like, I don't know. And I think you
Mhm.
guys played it for a day or two, and I said, all right, sure, screw it, I'll go in.
Yep.
And then
Yeah, I think there's. Oh, sorry.
oh, sorry, $70 later, like a week of playing in one video, and then those games are dead.
Yep.
Now,
Yep.
hold on. Let me put in like a devil's advocate on something here. So, like, would you pay $100? What would you put an excessive price tag on your favorite game, and would you pay
Yes.
for it?
Yes, I would.
So,
That's-
right, yeah. Would you put $100 on Warhammer
On
Dark
Darktide?
on Darktide?
Oh, that's a good question.
Would you put
No.
$100 on League of Legends if it wasn't a free to play game? If would you put like on your favorite game? Would you pay that
Yeah.
$100? And I absolutely would.
I probably would for
I
Darktide, yeah.
I can't criticize GTA 6. It hasn't come out yet. What I can
No,
say
yeah.
is it probably is worth paying the $100 as long as they don't flush the storyline. But they have never really flushed a GTA storyline. So I have
Right.
Rockstar has a pretty impeccable track history.
I have a
Yes.
pretty good pretty
Yeah,
good faith
yeah.
in them operating GTA 6 with you know
I
Oh,
mean,
I'm
think
sure it's
the
about
going to be
same
phenomenal.
credibility as they've had. I think it would be
Yeah.
from just based on previous GTAs. I think it's already worth $100. It's probably worth
But then again,
Probably
it can be
is,
they can put an
like
outrageous price tag on it and it'd be worth the experience there. But
yeah.
you can't look at the 21st or 23rd Call of Duty and be like, okay, that's worth $100.
well,
Yes.
here's a counterpoint to that. I'll play a little devil's advocate to your devil's advocate. People
like
said the
that.
same thing about Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red when it first
Yeah.
came out because
Yeah.
CDPR had a perfect track record before Cyberpunk. I mean,
Yep.
every game they'd ever made was phenomenal, every single
Yep.
one of them. And then I'll admit I've got like 200 hours in Cyberpunk. I love it, and it's fixed now. It's playable. It's fun. But it took a long time for it to get there.
Right. And you
Yeah.
bring up a very good point where like maybe the $100 that you pay isn't worth it now, but it's worth it 3 months
future.
from 3 or
Yeah.
4 months. But that I mean that goes into saying like it's not just about the game, it's about the developer. And I
Yep.
trust the developer.
Yes.
Even though this isn't going to go right at the beginning. And that's what I kind of think about with Rockstar. It's like GTA 5 was amazing, but we can all agree, even with the single player, I mean, it's with every Grand Theft Auto, no Grand Theft Auto is mechanically perfect. There's
Yeah.
all
I
types of
mean,
glitches.
Oh no, and the
So,
GTA 5
sometimes that makes it
online
fun
was
though.
but you can trust
definitely
Rockstar being like, okay, we see these, we identify them, and we want to fix these things.
Yeah.
But
it was
yeah,
tragic
I
in the
mean,
beginning, but they fixed it.
Yeah, well, and as
Yeah.
good as Red Dead is, GTA is their moneymaker, so I doubt they'll
Oh yeah. They're
really drop the ball. Even if it comes out kind of questionable, they'll fix it.
yeah. I think
I
part of the
guarantee it.
reason I brought it up was that I think that's just probably one of the first games that's gonna be $100.
Yeah.
But everyone else is gonna be doing it. Like you see the $70 price increase, like all those
I'll-
AAA titles are doing it. So the second GTA 6 does it, everyone else is gonna be like, let's see how this works, and if it sells well, we're doing $100 too for our next Battlefield game.
I
And
guarantee you,
next
I
COD's
will,
100.
and I
I will
agree
never
with you.
play. I'll never play Call of Duty again if they
I
raise the
agree with
price
you.
to $100.
That will probably
Mhm.
happen, but I can already imagine like the Act Man or like Donkey or any video game critique person out there to immediately say what I've already said, which is kind of like, well, if you're a shit game developer looking at Rockstar and what they're doing because they can do that, and you think you can do that, you're going to learn a really hard way because you're going to lose even more money now.
Yeah,
Yes.
but the problem is all these games that have been priced at 70 have sold insanely well.
Mm-hmm.
Like they haven't
Well,
lost people like from buying them. You know what I mean? People are still like Diablo 4 sold more copies than Diablo 3.
Well, at the moment, they're riding off of reputation of the games that came before them, right? Because Diablo
That's fair.
is
Yeah,
and has been for like 30 years.
that's
An
fair.
unbelievably popular game. Diablos 1, 2, and 3 were all huge sellers.
Especially 3.
3 was massive.
And
And
let's not forget about, we're talking about companies that have merged recently.
yeah, Blizzard.
Yeah,
Activision
Blizzard. Yeah,
Blizzard.
that's a big
Is
one.
they're all,
Yeah,
they've been acquired by Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a big one.
Bethesda got
And-
acquired
and
by
I
Microsoft
guarantee
too,
you,
and that did not stop them
I
from releasing
think
trash.
the last number I
No.
saw was that Microsoft's up basically 50 billion in their sales because of their acquisition. So I
Well,
mean,
yeah.
it's not like they're losing money because they got, you know, re- arguably the two biggest game developer companies in the world and publisher companies.
Yes, and also I just
Yeah.
realized I never actually answered the question when Tyler
Yeah, you
asked. Like I
didn't.
sort of did, but I like looped around. Like, I mean, realistically, I probably will get GTA 6, but just off of principle because I'm a cheap bastard and also like sort of in a way a boomer of like, yeah, back in my day, gas used to be a nickel a gallon, as and I don't want to see the games go up and start having to be like, you go onto Steam or you walk into GameStop and you're paying
No.
$80 for a game. But so I want to say no, but when the time comes, probably maybe.
Yeah, it'll be a yes by the time it comes out.
Jake,
Robert,
let's hear your
you
thoughts.
you well, first of all, you fundamentally misrepresented boomers. It was never gas that was a nickel. It was hamburgers that were a nickel. Gas was 56 cents a gallon. Get with the fucking times.
Damn.
And school was $1 a semester.
Hey, I remember when gas was. I remember when gas was less than $1.
Damn,
So-
boomer.
Late
Gas
90s,
is all right
baby.
though.
Boomer
it's under
alert.
$3.
Boomer.
I filled up my
Boomer
tank for
alert.
$20, baby. Let's go.
That's true.
What?
Actually, gas is relatively reasonable right now.
It's
I
not
mean, I
horrible.
also
Like 260 a
am
gallon.
back
here.
again to a 4-cylinder engine with a smaller tank, so it's not as much as the Jeep or like Tyler's truck or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jake,
So-
go ahead.
Yeah, one of the interesting things that I've noticed about this discussion is basically it's centered entirely around the point you initially brought up. The price of AAA title video games is increasing. It has gone from $60 to $70 to $80 to now a projected $100 for Grand Theft Auto 6. We have debated pricing as compared to quality. We have
Mhm.
debated pricing as compared to experience. We
Mhm.
have debated pricing as compared to hype and game
Yep.
studio reputation. One of the things that has not been talked about at all is the comments that one studio made. I cannot remember. I think it was Ubisoft about the
Yes.
inevitability of games becoming a subscription service, which I think is monumentally more terrifying than any lump sum initial purchase
Yeah,
for a
that's
game.
that's
Yes.
awful. Actually,
That's a really good ad because weren't they saying that you weren't going to be able to own your games now?
Yeah, I
Yes,
think
yes,
that-
you
Yeah.
would. You like the entire studio's entire release schedule would be bundled into something similar to like Xbox, Microsoft Game Pass or Xbox Game Pass. I can't remember what it is. I don't have it. But that idea that you pay a subscription fee every month and you get access to this rotating docket of games, and that's how releases would go in the future, is that you'd only get access to these games, to your save files, to your game history, to your accomplishments, to your screenshots, if you paid this monthly subscription fee either in a bundle or to the studio. And
That is
they essentially talked entirely around the concept of game ownership would die. It would be perpetual rental for the experience of a AAA title.
That's awful.
Yeah,
That
they
is-
were
pretty tragic.
Ubisoft
I think-
execs were reportedly saying like we need to get used to the idea of not owning what you pay for. But yeah, go Andy.
Yeah.
And
Oh
I
my
think that just
God.
goes back into kind of indie developers will have
They'll be able to rise
the
up.
cards are more on their side now at that point, because then the indie
Yes.
developer can say, "Hey, you buy this game from me, it's yours. You own that
Exactly,
game
and
now."
And that's a point I think has a lot more ground to back it up than necessarily indie game studios
Just
are
the
going
price
to.
cost, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Are going to are going to eclipse AAA game studios, but the idea that an indie game studio that is out there from the start to design a quality product is going to say, yes, if you pay us a lump sum, you're going to own it. You don't have to worry about a bullshit subscription fee. That is immediately going to
Way more
overthrow.
popular.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
And
like
let's be honest here. That is kind of scary to have a big game publisher like that come out and say that, but this is
Mhm.
Ubisoft we're talking about. I could see
They're
them
always
doing it.
sketchy.
I don't
Oh, I
think
can
very many
absolutely see
I
them
don't know if
doing it.
anybody else would do it.
Ubisoft
I-
100% would do it.
Yeah.
Ubisoft is
Yeah.
horrible.
Like
Maybe
I can't even.
Activision or
Yeah.
Blizzard, but
I can't.
I could see
Activision
Blizzard doing it next. Yeah.
I mean, Blizzard kind of already does it.
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, because like the
Look
Overwatch
at
Battle
World of
Pass, I
Warcraft,
guess.
man. How long has that game been out? And
But
people will pay
they-
$100 for every expansion.
Oh,
yeah,
it's so
there's.
stupid.
I don't necessarily
It
take
technically
that
still own the
take
game,
that
though.
aside. I don't even think like I really don't think anybody will go with that motto except Ubisoft. I can't see even EA doing that. Even as much EA loves your money, like the worst of the worst is basically Ubisoft.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
they're
can't-
the worst anti-consumer company.
That's
It is
that-
pretty
yeah.
bad when your competition is EA and Activision Blizzard and you're
Ugh.
beating them handily.
Oof.
And they're both
Ubi-
anti-consumer.
Ubisoft is by far the worst in the
Yeah.
video game
Well,
space
yeah,
for
and-
consumers.
well,
They're just horrible.
And I mean, probably has the least amount of players in their player base.
Well, yeah, what games do they run? They've got Assassin's Creed,
Rainbow Six.
Rainbow Six.
And that's
That's really
R6
it.
is what keeps them alive. I guarantee
Pretty much
you
it, man.
R6 is what keeps them alive.
Hang on.
If they
Yeah.
didn't have
Yeah.
100,000 concurrent players on R6 every day, they wouldn't have a company anymore.
Guys, Avatar.
Oh, that's
Alright?
right. That
Which
Avatar
one?
game.
Avatar. Come
The
on
new,
now.
The new game.
Earlier
Oh,
today,
Frontiers of Pandora.
earlier
Yeah.
today, I was like going through my Steam library and I was looking at
Looking
Trackmania
so
that I
bad.
had from years ago, and I didn't know that Ubisoft acquired them, or Ubisoft like full on got more greedy in there because I think they were already the publisher. But man, they took away so much of this game to where it's not even fun anymore, and it feels like this is just kind of like the Ubisoft motto. Like it's just like go in, trash the game, make as much money as you can, and forget about the consumer. Completely forget about the consumer.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
we're not interacting with our community because that's literally what Ubisoft does. They just do not interact with their community.
Well, they just do whatever they
No.
want, and
Yeah,
community
they don't
feedback is sent straight to the
care
spam
about
folder.
people. Or
Put it in
listen.
the trash.
Directly in
Ubisoft
the
is
trash.
the equivalent of a think tank in the gaming industry. Like they are so bubbled inside themselves and they will not talk to the public. It is strictly run by shareholders. Strictly. There's no fun in anything, by the way. Like I mean it's a money hungry company
Yeah.
since like 2012 I want to say is when Ubisoft really started changing.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I don't know. They have X Defiant coming out this summer, apparently. I don't know if
I mean
changes anything.
didn't that already come out or is
Where
The
Ubisoft
beta did. Yeah, it
redid
comes
it
out
down
this
this
summer
shitter?
of 24.
Did they produce? Hang on a second.
Remember Assassin's Creed Black Flag?
Oh,
Yeah.
that was a good game.
Mhm.
You mean the last?
Wasn't
That
that
was a
Assassin's Creed?
super great game.
Assassin's Creed 2.
there hasn't been a
Assassin's
good
Creed
one since.
No, there hasn't.
Like Valhalla and Origins.
I
and
guess
whatever
Valhalla. I
are
heard
just, like-
Valhalla was good.
Yeah.
I
I
personally
started
haven't played
playing.
them.
I started playing Odyssey, and that was just it. I've only
Not
ever
Valhalla,
played.
yeah, Odyssey apparently was decent.
Yeah. Well, I started playing it, and it is nothing like Black Flag, and like to the point where as early in the game as you get like access to assassin techniques and the idea of stealth missions, like it just doesn't stack up. It's such a weird experience to play that game, only ever having played Black Flag before.
Yeah, does
Yeah.
it just
I
feel
played-
like the identity is different?
Yeah, they're totally incongruous experiences.
I played every Assassin's Creed game all the way up and through Black Flag, and also the one that came right after that, the one where you played as like the French pirate guy.
Oh, Revolution.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
not Revolution.
No, that was
No,
before.
are you
Black
talking
Flag.
about Rogue?
Yes, and Rogue was a huge disappointment coming in after Black Flag, but that's fair. And from what I can tell, because I've watched like YouTubers play through Valhalla and Odyssey, and they're not even really the same game anymore.
No, they
Yeah.
don't
No,
look
aren't
the
they
You know what I
same
just,
mean?
at
Like
all.
I was
open
looking back at
world?
like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood remains my favorite in the series. Black
Oh, that
Flag's
was
a close
really
second.
good.
AC4 is a close second, but Brotherhood is, in my opinion, the best of the OG Assassin's Creed games. And the new ones just aren't really even Assassin's Creed anymore. You're just kind of
No, yeah.
like, it's cool still, I guess, because you're doing historical shit and whatever, like the originals, but that's about the only thing that's the
Do you
same.
even really like actually assassinate people?
I mean, you can,
My
but
problem
also
with
in Valhalla you have a huge axe. Like, I
Hmm.
don't know.
Yeah, I've
They
seen
also
it's
did a-
more about
they-
like going around the world and doing like combat and like
Yeah,
quests and
it
collecting
kind of is.
stuff
They've
and
gotten a little bit away from the stealth and like assassin
Oh, yeah.
aspect of things.
I don't even
Hmm.
remember getting access to hidden blades in Odyssey.
I'm sure the stories are probably okay. I personally wouldn't know.
I
But
just I wish they would have done a better job porting over to PC, because like the PC versions are all, I mean the early ones I want to say, like from 1 to 3 they are all very bugged on their PC ports, and
Mm.
again I don't know what they did, but I mean I have Assassin's Creed 1 and 2, and I mean I don't even want to play 2 because I want to refinish 1, but I can't get through the tutorial because the tutorial's bugged because I didn't throw
Damn.
the man in the hole on the third tutorial mission. And it's like now the whole game's bugged. Like it won't let me do anything. I have to completely restart. So stuff like that where it's like I don't even want to do this.
That's a whole other can of worms because big game developers are getting real lazy with their optimization.
Oh yeah,
You know what I'm
super
saying?
lazy.
Like
Super
games
lazy.
now
we'll just come
are
out in
like
terrible state.
150 gigabytes. That's insane.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the new COD was in like wasn't that like
It's
120
like
gigs?
120. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Like what is that? And like it's not like it's better than Black Ops 2.
And it's not like it's a huge immersive big game. Like, you know, Cyberpunk is like 80 gigs. And that I can understand because CDPR built a whole city. And
Yes.
and the surrounding, you've got like half the state of California in that game. And
So like it
it's
justifies it being huge.
yeah. It kind of justifies it, and it's still half the size of new Call of Duty.
so I was your point about game sizes piqued my interest, and I went to take a look at my Steam library because it tickled something in the back of my brain. One of my the game that got me like into survival sims was, of course, the venerable Ark Survival Evolved. Because
Oh
what's
yeah.
cooler than riding a dinosaur with an
It's
assault rifle?
160 gigs, dude.
No, it's not. It is 280 gigs.
Oh my
Oh my
god.
god.
My
Yeah.
God.
Ark
the hell?
Survival Evolved is 279.86 gigabytes.
Oh my god.
Jeez, that's like the entire
Dude,
hard drive.
hold on.
Hang on.
Hold on. Hold on. I
What?
want you to go to Ark Survival Evolved's store page, and I want you to see what their system requirements are at least saying for storage.
Oh my god.
Let me see if they've got it. Yeah, that's the store page on
Steam.
on Steam. Yeah. Okay, let's take a look here. System requirements minimum: Windows 7, 8.1 or 10, Intel i5 2400 or AMD FX 8320 or better, 8 gigabytes RAM, an NVIDIA GTX 670 with 2 gigabytes, or a Radeon HD 7870 with 2 gigabytes or better.
Like a 12-year-old graphics cards.
Yeah,
those are nothing.
DirectX 10. 60
Oh, it says
gigabytes.
60 gigabytes.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
that's
It's telling you-
minimum.
It's telling you that you at least need 60 gigabytes
60
for our
gigs.
210 gigabyte
Oh
game.
my god.
280.
Wow.
280.
Wow.
And I guarantee you, nobody in Ark is having a better experience than people
Oh!
still playing like Skyrim. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And that game's
Mhm.
like 20 gigs at the most.
Yeah.
I was
how-
just looking.
yeah.
Okay, I just did a little thing. Okay, the new Call of Duty is like 120 gigs, probably more than that now. And it's kind of shit. And there's not really any reason for it to be that big
Mm-hmm.
because it's not like there's some big, huge map or anything like GTA.
No.
Okay, So I went back and looked at the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, okay, which has a real world map size of 25 square miles, which is a lot for a video game.
Dang.
Like if you took that map and put it in the real world, it would be 25 square
Mhm.
miles, which is like the size of the Helena Valley. And it's 5.5 gigs.
Wow.
Oh my god.
So they were able to, and I know it's old. It came out in 2006.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's low
But that makes
resolution.
it more
and-
impressive,
And yeah, the
honestly.
low resolution and all that, that's all
where
like
most of your-
valid.
That's where most storage, by the way, is.
Yeah, it's
in the
graphics.
It's in the graphics.
It's graphics,
Yeah.
but you
We
know
have
they could
Ezra.
optimize it better.
Oh, they
100%
absolutely
they
could.
can.
Well,
Let's
and
look at that. Hang on.
here's the counter to that though. Do you think it's easy to optimize 8-10 gigabytes of a game?
Yeah,
Yes,
probably.
it's only 8 to 10.
Yeah.
Now, like the theory is you have a better graphics card, which means that you can process better graphics, and because you can process better graphics, we're going to make better graphics, but that makes a huge storage. So is it now easy to process 80 gigabytes of your graphics compared to 8 gigabytes of your graphics?
Well,
It's
yeah,
like,
it's gonna get better, but like it
It
seems
is,
like
but
it's
that's
way
just
substantial, though.
flat
Right.
laziness on the developers' parts.
And
though.
and you're absolutely
Yeah.
right there too. But it's also not the developer's fault. It's the people that are
Right.
Well, it's
crunching
the
their time to get
publisher's
it done.
fault.
Well, yeah,
Now,
but
yeah,
if Cyberpunk's at 80 gigs and COD's
Something
at
like that.
120, it's like, bro, that is like
Now,
insane.
I just looked. Okay, this game. Okay, I'm looking at the Witcher 3's store page now on Steam. Okay, 50 gigabytes, and
That's tiny.
I have played that game recently, and those graphics still look phenomenal. Like I know it's starting to get a little old now. It came out in what,
Yeah.
2014, 2015,
15.
15, yeah. But 50 gigs, and I would
Dang.
argue that it has better graphics than the new COD,
Yeah. Oh, dude, Cyberpunk is
Oh, yeah.
70 gigs, by the way.
and it's only 70, and that also has better graphics than the new COD.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. That's
Like it's just the
insane.
same COD. MW3 was literally a DLC. Like it was never
Oh yeah.
impressive. Like and any of
That was
these
a
new
sham.
CODs have never ever really been impressive. Like the games themselves can be, yes, but not like the graphics.
No, yeah. The graphics on
Warfare-
Cyberpunk are insane.
Like
Oh,
an
they're
interesting tangent on this though. Like, for example, I still play Call of Duty Black Ops 1 and Call of Duty World at War every once in a while. Now,
Tragic.
obviously, you can run those on max graphics because they're old as shit. And they're still kind of garbage because it's Xbox 360 games. And it's also because I have a 2K monitor, but they don't look completely terrible. They hold up a little bit. I don't know really where I was going with it, but it's, I guess that's more impressive that would work than just people copying and pasting and then trying to say that the graphics are better and stuff, which obviously the technology has improved, but at some point, like you guys have said, there's not really a justification for it being completely huge. Now, maybe because you can have the multiplayer lobbies and there's more people, so it's rendering for more people. Maybe that.
No, that's bullshit
might be.
too.
I'm not
Because-
sure. I'm just.
Look at what am I looking for here? Damn, I just forgot what I was going to say.
Because
Fuck.
no game needs to be like realistically over 100. It's definitely not over 200.
Well, I kind of
Not right now.
I
at
think you
least,
bring
I
up a
don't
good
think.
point where it's like, man, if we can just tell a game, like if a game developer's like let's say Activision, Call of Duty in that franchise, if they're like, oh, okay, we're getting crunched on all this time and we need to make the new game, but we're getting crunched and we don't have all the time and the energy and the manpower to keep doing this. And it's like, okay, as the consumer, I can tell you graphically, we don't really care. You can use Black Ops 2 fucking graphics.
Mm-hmm. We
And
just
if
want
that
the game to
if
be
the-
fun and good.
if that helps you enough to make a good fucking game, then just do it. Like that's the least of our fucking worries. Just make a good game.
Mhm.
Use any of your previous goddamn engines if it's going to take time off of that workload. Like we don't
You
care
got to be
about
careful
the
with
graphics
that, though. Because then you end up with Bethesda, who's been using Morrowind's engine for every game they've made since
Even on
2003.
But yeah, but you can't say that Oblivion and Skyrim weren't fucking awesome.
That's true. I was also gonna say the multiplayer thing kind of doesn't hold weight either, because I'm looking at Halo Infinite's install size, 53 gigabytes.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's 70 less than COD.
Yeah, that's insane.
And
You can
I
have,
would
like,
argue that
88.
Halo's got better graphics. I wouldn't say it's a better game because Halo kind of sucks now, but it looks better.
Yeah, Halo Infinite actually looks pretty good. The
Definitely,
visuals
yeah,
are pretty
it's
awesome on it.
It's great.
like even
Yeah.
on high, it's pretty impressive. Like, and I only
Here's
get
another
like
one.
65 frames or something, so it's pretty like graphically intense.
Dude, some of these indie games, by the way, like they look so good. Like we were playing Ready or Not the other day, and I was like, these graphics are like incredible. And like, I kind of like the physics of it, cause like this is just a really tiny little thing. But if you shoot like let's say like a water bottle or something, you can see the water leak out of it and stuff. Like it's kind of like the engines are pretty good now, and like it's like these guys are building these great games on like no budgets and like really good engines. It's just kind of wild to see what people can do with passion instead of just
Yep.
money.
Yeah, it's
Well, then you got
great.
games like the Finals. The Finals is 20 gigabytes, and it looks
And that
fantastic.
graphics are
The
perfect.
engine, yeah, they look amazing, and the engine runs smooth. There's not really any hiccups or anything that I've noticed.
Mhm.
Unless
Yeah,
maybe
it just
I think
doesn't
I've
have
had
much
it
content though.
crash
That's
like
the
once or
problem. That's the
twice,
thing.
but
Well, yeah, but it's the whole
Yeah.
back to the whole like big multiplayer type thing.
No, 100%. The multiplayer I don't think matters on that.
No,
Yeah.
um,
that's all done server side, anyways. That shouldn't be.
and I guess to sort of loop back to an earlier thing, like let's say, for example, Jake, would you rather pay $100 for Lethal Company or $10 a month for GTA 6?
I do not give a rat's ass about the GTA series.
Dang.
I could not care
All right,
less
hang
about
on.
that game
I know
series.
I know a game you like a lot. How about
Oh, no.
Civilization? Civ 7.
Civ 7, I would pay $100 for Civ 7.
No.
I
Would you pay $10 a month for Civ 7?
Ooh.
For the rest of your life.
For the
Because
rest of your life, if you wanna be able to
comparatively,
play
what
that
he's
game.
doing is comparing it to WoW at this point.
Yeah. So okay. So here's the thing about that. Like, God, that's a really tough call because I would need I'd need a content roadmap. I'd need clearly defined what you get out of this.
So
you
you need the
know.
developer to prove that it was worth the subscription.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
What if it was
like
like
I would need. I
Destiny?
would
Because
need.
they're gonna roll
Yeah, I
out
would need
updates.
benchmarks. Well, and not even Destiny is technically analogous because even with every content drop for Destiny 2, there are still free to play aspects introduced into the game. Obviously,
Oh,
it's
true, yeah.
18 to 20% of the game, but Destiny is still technically free to play.
Mhm.
Obviously that's a gross misunderstatement and
Yeah,
misrepresentative of a game
definitely.
of a free to play game experience.
I think
But
WoW is the best comparison because WoW wants you to see their roadmap into saying like, we understand like you're paying every single month to play this game, so at least like bi-weekly we need to mix up content for you
I
to
did
progress
just
you further.
think of an interesting point. With the whole subscription thing, you can kind of, in a way, control your price, like how much you pay for it. So, like, for example, let's say a new Zelda game comes out, right? And instead of paying 60 or 70, you pay $10 a month. Cool. You pay the $10, download the game, beat it. Within that first month, boom, you've paid $10 for a $70 game.
Yeah.
And then you just delete it, move on.
See, now
Or-
I could see that being
Which it would have been, I would have just fell into that category because I literally just
Yeah.
beat that game in under like 3 or 4 weeks or something.
I was gonna
so-
say, yeah, when I first got Breath of the Wild, I beat that game in like 2 weeks. That's the only game I played
Right.
for that time period. And so I could see that with like good single player games, that being kind of justified.
Man, that reminds me of fucking
It still pisses me off
back
though.
in
I
the
would
early
rather just own the goddamn thing.
Yeah, that
Yeah, I
kind of
don't
reminds
get
me of
that.
the early 2000s where you like Blockbuster and like
Yeah.
video games that
Game
you go to
rental
like
services,
yeah,
bro.
or GameFly, like you would rent the game, like yeah, you're not owning the game, but like you're probably gonna beat this game before the subscription or when they need it back. So like that's what I kind of find like I don't know. Back in the old days, that was kind of the cool thing. But that was more centered around single-player games. So
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think the Ubisoft thing is just like absolute malpractice on the highest order. But I mean, I do see some merit to like saying like let's get a subscription thing for like let's say for example Destiny. Like I would rather pay like a subscription service for that game because I only play that game for a couple of months that I know that I'm getting like that like a new DLC comes out for or something like that. I'm like okay cool I'll play
you're
it.
right. I would actually. Well, here's the thing too: is that WoW isn't just a subscription base. You do pay a full price amount of money for a DLC.
Yep.
So
For
like
each expansion is the
you
cost of a
pay
full game.
you pay $60 for every time they come out of it with an expansion. Plus, you
Right.
pay the $10 every month to play the game.
Right.
So that's exactly what Destiny will do. So, and I can understand that you're like, okay, well, I still would want to do that, but you're seeing that you pay extra amount of money now compared to what you already do, which is they have a free to play baseline, and then you pay for that
I think
one DLC. Like, if
Right.
they would have to, I don't know.
I think an either or option would be acceptable.
Yeah, no, I
Like,
agree. I
you
think
can
like yeah.
either pay the 70 and own the game, or if you don't want to do that, you can pay the $10 a month and play it for
Yes.
as long as you want, and then cancel your subscription. I think that would be fine, actually.
Because
I could live with that, yeah.
I could live with that.
I don't know if you guys already talked about this, but you think about it this way: like if you do the subscription, right, and then you finish the game, and then you forget to like delete it or return it or whatever, and it just sits there in your library and you don't touch it, you keep paying for it, and then you're like, oh crap! Like 2 months down the road, you're like, oh, I don't want to play this anymore. I need to cancel this. Like I've spent another $50 when I haven't played it. Type thing.
Right.
Like how
That
some
one's
people.
user. That's
It's
kind
like
of
the
a
whole
user error
library
usually.
thing, man.
Well, yeah,
They want you
I'm
to
not
forget
saying
that your
it's like
subscription.
I got like a bad thing necessarily. I'm
I
just
mean
making
that
a
I
point.
think that goes into that no, I personally I'm like I want to be more financially responsible. So I need to make I either need to like get on like an app that reminds me, set like I have that with all of my payments. So like I feel like that just goes more into being more financially responsible than you like than the company scheming that you're going to forget. I feel like
Well-
every company's wanting you to forget that you have their
Oh.
subscription.
I mean,
That's
at the end
how
of the day, every
that's how
company
all
just
these
wants
companies
your
make
money.
money.
That's
Yeah, they
that,
all want that. Yeah.
and in all honesty, that's fine because that comes back more down to like your personal financial responsibility. I think you have
Like even
now. Like it would be nice if companies were like a 3-month reminder, be like, "Hey,
Mhm.
you haven't used our service in 3 months and you've paid us," and
I
it's
know.
like, "Oh, well, thanks for the reminder. I'll get to I'll get to canceling that subscription," but they're never going to do that.
Yeah, sometimes they'll email you a receipt and you're like, oh fuck, I forgot about this. And then
That's the
you,
that's the worst one where it's just like my Audible or Amazon payment comes out and you're like, "Fuck, dude, I
so then
only
you gotta
had like."
cancel it before the next one.
Yeah, yeah. But
Funny.
again,
Oh, I was
just
gonna say,
put it on an app. I feel like it'd get a reminder set.
funny story that kind of happened with me in a way, because YouTube Premium was like, hey, do you want like a 3-month trial? I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, sick. YouTube with no ads. Sign me up. And then I was gonna cancel it, and I was like, huh, I wonder like when that's supposed to through. And I was looking, and they already charged me for it like 2 days before. Like, oh damn it, here's $15. But then I thought, well, I paid for it, I'll keep it. And then I just canceled it like recently before the next one came through.
That's another thing. That's another way those subscription-based companies get you too, like Amazon and like Hulu is a great example. If you want to pay more for Hulu without ads, you can. And
Mhm. Netflix is doing that too now.
so is Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon's apparently gonna
Yeah,
start running
Amazon's
ads.
adding ads.
Amazon Prime
Yeah.
is adding ads, and then you have to pay an extra like $6 a month to remove the ads.
Something
But
like that, yeah.
I'm not sure on the
anyways,
price point, but it's
what I was
sketchy.
gonna say is that's how they get you though. They're like, oh, you can have a 6-month free trial. Or
And you're like,
however
sick.
long they
I
want
don't
to be.
gotta
You're
pay
like,
for
okay,
it for 6
fucking
months.
awesome, yeah. And then you set it and forget it, and then 6 months later you pay for it, and then you cancel it, and you go back to the way it was, and then it kind of sucks
Like even now,
You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like
ads
you
on
pay for
videos.
Hulu without ads, and then you go back to
Oh,
using
dude.
Hulu with ads, and
Hulu
it's
with
way
ads
worse.
is straight trash, dog.
It's
Don't
trash,
ever.
but it's like 3
It
minutes
is
of ads. It's like
tragic,
cable
bro.
TV all over again, bro.
I
Except
used
cheaper.
to watch anime, so
It's
like
cheap.
on Hulu with ads, cool. You'd click the episode to start it, ad. Then like for those who
Every
don't watch
10
anime,
minutes.
you don't know, but it'd be like the brief part clip
like, the
before they
intro.
do the intro, like the beginning of the episode.
Ad.
Then they do ad. Then the intro, which is like a 2-minute song with no plot or whatever.
Ad.
Ad. And then, like every
Sounds
3
about
minutes
right.
throughout the
Ad.
episode.
Every 10 minutes through the episode, there's another ad. It's terrible.
You guys want to know
Even
someone that
YouTube's not that bad.
No, YouTube is like
just
2
the
ads in the
beginning.
beginning, which it's
And then
like
there's like
they're
one
like
at the end,
10-second
which is
ads or
whatever.
whatever. Sometimes
And
one in
this-
the middle.
The smart YouTubers are all just doing their own promotions now.
Yeah,
Signing
Yeah,
contracts
that-
directly
yeah.
with the companies that they want to promote, and then just doing it. And then you can just skip through them, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
no, that's
Everybody's
definitely the way
happy
to do
with
it.
that response. Honestly, I love that because
'cause
then
they
the
make
YouTuber
money.
gets the money from the company gets some ad revenue,
Mm-hmm.
and the average user, if they're not interested in whatever this person
Can
is
just
sponsoring,
fast
can
forward
just
to 30
fast
seconds.
forward through it and get to the video.
There you go. See the content.
I like that model. That's fine, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's all right. Well, you just want to know someone that's stealing money from me every single goddamn week, every single day of my life?
Oh no.
The government. Okay.
I mean, literally, yeah.
And
The libertarian has arrived.
damn right.
I mean, shit,
So-
man. You look at your paycheck; they take like $200 or so, depending how
Damn
much it is.
right.
5%.
Yeah,
bro,
I
that's
think
terrible.
this is a good segment to go into
It is.
other government
Yup.
problems that are happening
And
in this
that's
country
right
What a great
now.
segue
That's why
that
I was
was.
trying to segue, baby. All right, Andy, you kick this off, man. Come on, F the government, baby. Let's start it here. All right, go, Andy.
As a proud Texan, we here secede from the United States of America.
Ah,
Damn
Nah,
right.
I don't-
Missouri.
Yeah, but
Don't DDoS him, bro.
Andy's address is 123.
Oh,
Did you
shit.
mean
1,
dox
2,
him?
3,
Did you
none of
mean
your
dox
business.
him?
Yeah, we're gonna dox him.
I
Yeah,
was gonna
dog.
say, no,
Uh,
you
anyways.
said DDoS him.
Oh, sorry.
Flood his
I
server.
thought-
Flood his server.
Flood his server.
Oh,
His
no.
IP is.
205-6521. We got him.
So
Anyways.
the state of Texas has declared that their National Guard and their high authority of policing have all the right to the border policing, while the federal government says, yeah, no, you don't. And there's been about 25 states that have all sided with Texas on this at this point.
Sure.
Very much
Including
splitting,
Montana, where most of us live.
very
Yes,
much
sir.
splitting this country into a how should I say it? Speculating civil war mindset. It seems like, which is
Uh-oh.
kind of
Bad.
funny.
Get the band back together.
Uh-oh.
Yes, sir.
Quote the Blues Brothers.
Fucking Johnny Breb out here.
Them
hollering
good old
at
boys
you.
will ride again.
Now we'll rise again. No, I don't think it's quite to that point just yet.
There is in theory
Um,
potential.
Mostly because so many states have signed on their support for Texas.
Hmm?
Um,
Could just all join together and not have to do anything in that way.
Yeah, and the federal government, of course, would love nothing more than to have a hand in every aspect of every single thing that goes on in every state, because they
Yes.
love to control the states like that.
They
But
do.
they do not have that authority, and Texas is calling their bluff. The states have a right to police themselves. That's pretty clearly stated.
Yeah.
And
Mhm,
Texas
it
is
is.
fully exercising that right, and they essentially told the federal government, "Fucking do something about it." So, from my understanding, the Biden administration and the Supreme Court put basically a timer on Texas and said, if you don't comply within this time frame, we're going to do something about it. And that time frame ended 4 days ago, and they
Mm.
haven't done shit.
There
Hmm.
really isn't anything that they can't
No,
that they can do. I mean, all right, if we're talking about actually securing that border the way Texas is, there's really nothing more than that the federal government can do than that what Texas has already starting to do.
Yeah, they're just putting barbed wire in the river so people can't swim over.
Not
Well,
necessarily in the river,
I
but
think you're doing more than that too, right?
they're putting
doing
like,
more than- yeah,
yeah, they're
it's a
really
whole
going.
thing, but
They're going hard right now. Not like fucking like Gaza Strip hard,
Oh
but they're
God.
going pretty hard right now. And if the federal government was trying to get in there, most likely all they're going to do is just take down what Texas
What
has
they've
already
set
put
up,
up.
yeah.
I the way I kind of see this is like, if you are a tax-paying citizen in that state and you do feel like you are under threat, and then you feel like that border is under threat, I do feel like a state has the right.
Because it's
Now,
part of the state.
now the president of the United States does have the full-on right of saying what your National Guard, where they have overall command of your National Guard.
They're the commander in chief
They are
of all
they-
United States Armed Forces.
Yes, the president
Yes.
has two names, Mr. President and, well, Mr. and Mrs. President and or Commander in Chief. And so technically they can. It doesn't set a good precedent at all.
No.
Not at all.
No.
Every state, it doesn't even matter if you're Democratic or Republican, every state wants to have more control over their National Guard than what the federal government technically has their
Yeah, 'cause
control
it's
over.
their
how
own
it works.
people.
Which is how it works at the moment.
Because the army is basically
unless-
like everybody.
Yeah, unless the POTUS declares a state of emergency and decides to redeploy the National Guard.
But we are
I
talking
don't
about National
think-
Guard here. So
Yeah, that's
what
National
I'm saying.
Guard are born. Most people that are in the National Guard are born within their state that they
Yes.
are in the National Guard for.
Yeah, so
So
they're gonna want to be like supporting that and like.
not
I'll
only
tell you
are they
what,
going to want to
autonomous.
be, they are pledged to. I mean, you swear
Yeah.
2 pledges when you are part of the National Guard. You swear your state's constitution and you swear the federal constitution pledge. And so like now you got Texan National Guards who are like, yeah, I'm not going to fucking do shit for what you say I need to do. I'm going to listen to my state.
Well, and you know what?
Hey,
I
that's
completely
their home,
understand
man.
that. I like Montana a hell of a lot more than I like the federal government. If I was in the
Mhm.
National Guard, I would rather
Absolutely.
fight for the state of Montana,
Yep.
not the United States.
Like, yeah, if we had a immigration problem from Canada, since that's the state our border touches, and we had like joined the National Guard, and we wanted to go up and like try and prevent that or reinforce it or whatever, then we should have the right to. Hold on.
Well, you're called upon to do it. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
the state government telling you you have this emergency and this is what you're going to respond to.
Well, and at the end of the day,
Yeah.
the state, you're right that the president could theoretically recall the National Guard from the Texas border if he wanted to. However, that doesn't change the fact that the states have a very clear-cut right to police their own borders. Now, whether that's a
Absolutely.
border with another state or a border with a foreign country, it doesn't matter. So at the end of the day, Texas hasn't done anything wrong.
I don't
legally.
think so.
They
Yeah.
haven't. They just haven't. Like, constitutionally speaking, they have not done anything wrong.
They should be allowed to defend themselves.
They are allowed to defend themselves. That's
Um,
that's part of the U.S. Constitution. The states are allowed to do whatever they want to defend their own borders.
So, question here. Did we talk about what actually happened? Because I don't know if we did yet. I don't think we've addressed what happened with the border. Because
Go.
There's
Um,
been a immense influx. I mean, the data shows that there is a enormous amount of people coming in from the southern border that has been
illegally.
it has been on stats that's showing through Q1 through Q4 of 2023 that it has just been getting increasingly more and more. And there was about a peak of 350,000 for the
Mm.
entire month of December alone, and we hit 350,000 mid-January this year. So
Mm.
it's actually not decreasing by any means.
No, that's what they know of too.
And
So,
around the time of mid-January, Texas started really building up their patrolling to the point where they completely seized control pretty much of their southern border. It doesn't infringe on any other state's border. and it does not infringe on Mexican property. It is solely on Texas property.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
federal government pretty much did not like the fact that Texas was doing this because the federal government feels like they are the ones that have sole responsibility. And not necessarily sole responsibility, but they feel like in cooperation with the other states that are surrounding that it sets an unprecedented level of security to people that are trying to seek asylum. And most of this comes back down to that we are never really talking about the reason why they are coming over here. And we are just talking about the reasons why they are here. Or,
Mexico
we're
and
just
South
talking.
America fucking suck.
Well, I guess what I was going to try to add was that apparently the Joe Biden administration has ordered Texas Border Patrol more than 20 times in the last year to cease their actual patrol and cut the wires. And then apparently earlier this week, Joe Biden's administration had ordered Border Patrol agents to cut wires, and they even use a forklift to raise wires to actually allow more illegal immigrants into the country. They estimated 500 during that day. So they actually were allowing people in by using a forklift to open the wire up.
Isn't
that's
that
just
like the opposite
the federal
of their
government
whole job?
being super petty and
Eh.
just trying to piss Texas off at that point,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yep.
Here's what I want to talk about majorly with this. I don't. This is what I really want to nail down because I have very like core principles. And my number
Right.
one core principle is war, and that I don't want war. I don't like war. I don't like war. All right, it's just
No,
a
we should
huge
never be looking
principle.
to get into a
Not
war.
good.
I also can recognize that we are not necessarily in a hot war, but we are in a very weird proxy Cold War right now. And there are lots of people who do not like Americans. It doesn't matter if you're a left or a right person in this country, it doesn't matter your ideology. What matters is that you're an American, and people across this world do not like us for what our privilege is as being an American, what we have in our freedoms, and for what our government has done to their countries. I'm not necessarily worried about Southern people coming in. I'm not necessarily worried about Hispanic or South Americans coming in from the southern border. I am worried about a a terrorist from the Middle East coming across our southern border. There is the most amount of activity happening war-like in this country or in this world in the Middle East. And that's often where I get scared is it doesn't take much for an open border to let people in that aren't going to treat you with respect, aren't going to treat your community with respect. They hate you. They hate the things that they had to go through in their country, and I can understand that, but that's kind of the way I look at it. It makes me scared to think we will allow so many people to come in through the southern border like this,
And not even
unvet,
really check or
and
anything.
there's not a good vetting
Yeah.
system to go
It's
about this.
illegal. That's what I think. That's the whole
That's-
thing. Is if they
Right.
come in
Yeah.
legally, it's fine.
Yeah.
I fully agree with you.
Yeah.
I just think there's no vetting process. There's very little vetting process. If you're
Well, they
having
need to set something up for sure.
yeah, and I just
Well, it's
yeah,
set up if you come in.
I get scared. It's like the de-escalation that needs to happen in this world for me to feel comfortable allowing borders to be open right now. That's going to take some time. You
if
have
it ever
Yeah.
happens at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The
And
U.S.
it's
and Britain just got into another war with Yemen.
right, and we just had three soldiers killed in Jordan, and
Mhm.
I mean, we're going to start responding, and they're going to start reacting to that. The reaction is the what I'm scared of. Like, how far are we going to allow the security to not be there, and eventually it's going to hit us, just like how it always has. America does not get into wars unless our quote unquote security was breached.
Mhm.
So I don't look at history like it's always going to repeat. It's going to rhyme. But this is how it rhymes. It's never going to be the exact same. I doubt that it's going to be two planes flying into two towers, but it's going to be something that looks relatively similar to this because we allowed our security to be so open at this point.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
usually some kind of spark, and like
And I want to make it clear, I think everybody agrees with me here. We're not against immigration, right?
Oh,
Like,
yes.
No.
if you want to come to the US to have a better life, great. That's what the US has always been, right?
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
United States of America, that's what this
Freedom
country
of
was built
opportunity.
on. You move here
Absolutely.
to get away from whatever problems were plaguing wherever you came from. That's fine. None of us have an issue with that.
Nope.
The issue comes, just do it legally, you know?
Mhm.
It's not that
Mhm.
hard to get a green card.
So, as the resident left of center political view here, and the man who has remained quiet.
Oh, no.
I am not a liberal. I am not a liberal. I am
Robert,
not a
kill the
liberal.
podcast, kill the
Do not
podcast.
call me. Do not call me a fucking liberal.
Hey,
I am
shut up,
not a
Oscar.
liberal.
I'm fucking with-
I know.
I'm
I know
just-
you are, but do not call me. Do
Anyways.
not call me a liberal on a podcast. That is a threat.
All right. Before you go, I just want to say I do think that yes, people should be allowed to go anywhere, and it goes the other way too. Like we could move to Britain or Germany or Canada or some shit.
Well,
I
you would
just
move to
think
Britain, but you
like
could.
the legal processes and stuff have been set up, and they are there for just a reason, I would say. But yeah, you go ahead, Jake. Go. What you're gonna say?
So I'm gonna take a couple minutes to address some of the things that I've heard. If you could hold responses until I finish saying what I'm gonna say, I would be appreciative. I will try not to take more than 5 minutes on this. I'll try not to
questions
take
for
more
after
than
class?
yeah. I'll try not to take more than 3 minutes on this. So regarding the raw data of immigration, illegal immigration influx at the border. I'm not going to dispute that. I haven't done my own research. I don't know enough about it to lodge an argument against it or even claim it's false. You know, at this point, I'm willing to take Andy at his word. If there's been a marked increase, there's been a marked increase. The question of states' rights versus federal government rights is, of course, front and center at this. Texas being known to toe that line and test it in its actions and in its legal proceedings against the government is well documented. And I think engaging in discussion of federal rights versus states' rights in this particular circumstance will be of limited fruitfulness to the discussion. The concept of immigration being perfectly fine as long as it is legal is a very sound opinion to hold, but it's important to understand the processes people have to go through for the various types of visas or green cards that are needed to not only enter the country, but stay here for a long enough period of time in order to set themselves, their families, their loved ones, their homes, their careers up, and eventually test and potentially earn U.S. citizenship. I know y'all's political leanings. If you're interested on learning more about that process from a political talking head on my side of the spectrum, I highly encourage you to watch John Oliver's piece on immigration. It was very informative, and he, being an immigrant himself, albeit from Britain, not Mexico, has some pretty poignant personal things to say about it. The thing I am most interested in contributing to and even agreeing with is Andy's mention of the ongoing geopolitical crises that are sprouting up all over the world in places that America's reputation is not the most solid nor the most positive. You look at things in Ukraine against Russia and their political opinion of us. You look at things in Israel and both the Israeli opinion of America and the Palestinian opinion of America. Now the Houthi rebels firing out of Yemen and the strikes that killed 3 U.S. soldiers in Jordan, which Iran is promising responses to. This has all been of great interest to people with the background like Andy, because Andy, you're a military vet, right?
No, but I study a lot of history and I
Okay.
will listen to a lot of politics.
So my stepdad is a military vet. Served 20 years, finished out at Major. He was an Army Ranger, and he was in the Corps of Engineers. He was in the shit in the Middle East, and he has stories he can tell you, and he has stories he can't tell you because they haven't been declassified yet. And the one thing he said the last time I discussed this with him, this was probably a few weeks or maybe a few months into the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I just asked his opinion about it, and what he said was that he wasn't worried about the flashpoint in Israel or the flashpoint in Ukraine or the flashpoint with the Yemeni, but about their collective stress on the foundations of America's geopolitical influence. That the one easiest way to take down a larger, more technologically advanced, more powerful foe is to spread their attention and resources so thin that you can finally get a knife in. And I think that is probably the most poignant thing Andy has said about all of this, and the cumulative effects of all the internal and external crises and active or passive threats being examined in that particular conversation we just had.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I agree with you. I mean, if you look at our military, if you look at how number wise we rank number one, but if you, as you said, stretch that skin, it becomes a very thin defense. You actually you can't hold, and this is something many commanders in all of warfare have kind of figured out. You can't fight. You can. It's possible to fight multiple fronts. You don't want to fight multiple fronts. You don't want to
definitely
be
not more than 2.
involved. You don't want, yeah, you're right. You don't want to be involved in multiple fronts. And America at this point has played its hand to being
Everywhere.
the card giver. I mean,
Overly
We
involved.
are
we
Team
need
America,
to.
World Police, baby.
And I get the idea of a unionization of nations that come together that discuss whether this act was right or this act was wrong, but it doesn't feel like it's that anymore. That unionization of nations feels as broken as a mirror can get, and so it doesn't.
I assume
I,
you're referencing the United Nations there, and its inability or unwillingness to wield what little power it has for the improvement of lives or political circumstances.
right,
Yeah, okay.
right. I mean, I don't think. I just don't find it wise for America to open its mouth in every single thing that is going on.
No.
Yes,
I don't
I agree. They
I,
shouldn't.
I don't see on how our politics have helped this world out in the past 12 years.
America has cemented itself as this, modern spokes faction for Western foreign diplomacy writ large. And they have gone about drum beating and saber rattling and dogma spewing and economically interfering with a lot of the world. Some of that obviously with blatant invitations. Some of that, a lot of countries like, yes, America, please come in, help us, provide us, with some of your generous aid and with your economic consultants, help us improve our country. And sometimes America just has a foreign agenda it decides it wants to enact and expand a sphere of influence towards. And there has been this distinct I feel like hypocrisy is too strong a word, but double standard. That's what I'll go with. A double standard of America saying, I, as the nation ordained by myself, permission to do this for the good of
Freedom.
all Western civilization,
On
am allowed.
democracy and freedom.
Exactly, democracy and freedom, am permitted to act in this way and in this capacity by my own decree. However, should anyone have a problem with this, either the vocal minorities of the populations we're helping, or whatever house of politics and sovereignty in other countries the world over, well, they can just shove it. They don't get to tell me how to run my sphere of influence. And America really needs really needs to decide whether they want the responsibility of being a a globalist world policeman, or if they really do want to focus just on protecting their own interests as they have them, and trying to return to that concept of American isolationism, because right now it's trying to do both. And the more I watch these geopolitical crises unfold, the more I feel like, yeah, our country's about to face a
Or
geopolitical reckoning that's going to make that
Mhm.
decision for them.
the more I look at these geopolitical crises, the more I want to get in like my defensible turtle shell. That's the way
100%.
that I want
Everyone
this
into Andy's tank.
No, it's like if this whole nation, if this nation was a turtle, we should be getting in our fucking shell, preparing. We shouldn't be like
Yeah, we should be
fucking
worrying about
swimming all
ourselves.
through these oceans, talking to all these other. No, we as a country cannot. I can't fathom that a lot of people in this country can't I can't see them looking at all these proxy wars that are happening all at the same time and say like, oh, I'm still comfortable with just watching TikTok all day, or like these I can't imagine a time before uh, this had to have been like how it was in the 80s when people were thinking about nukes, like, oh, at any moment a nuke can come down, or we would have to get under our desk, or like we would have to go to a bunker. And it's not, I'm not relativising like this is how I think of how it is right now, but it's like what I'm thinking now is like at any moment World War III can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about nukes, just set those aside. But like all these proxy wars, something can happen to where like for some reason they get all smashed together.
All
And
it takes
that's
is one mistake.
Yep, one
that's
spark.
all
From
how
either side.
that's how all world wars, that's how both world wars are. I mean, it's been multiple front wars and they've been smashed together as if they were the same thing. As if the Middle Eastern Front and the Western Front were the same thing in World War One. They weren't, but we call it World War One. It's like the Pacific theater and the Eastern Front in World War Two. They're not the same thing,
Wildly different
but they're World War
engagement.
Two. So it's like this is how it's starting to feel. You have stuff off like also popping off in South America when it comes to land grabs that are wanting to go on, and all in general you have land grabs that are happening in Europe, land grabs that are happening in the Middle East. I mean that's all World War really. That's how world wars are. That's how big wars are. I mean, you were
So,
talking about
go ahead. I apologize.
places, things that you would normally see on a map now are changed because different people own stuff, which is crazy to think about in the world that we live in. We don't think about how the geography can change because different people own stuff now.
Yeah,
So
as far
I
as like
don't
how it looks on the map.
I don't want to derail this conversation, but my phone is absolutely listening to me because iFunny just showed me a meme that was eerily prescient to our first conversation. Pal World is so successful because it achieves one of the average gamer's wildest fantasies, being able to play Ark without needing 400 gigabytes of free storage space.
Oh my god.
Uh, get out of my
Glock,
head,
I
you
want to try
feds.
that game, man.
Well,
Game looks kind of fun, to be honest.
that was a good lighter note. I do think on that, we're approaching like an hour 15. So if anybody wants to get like some final thoughts in here, we could wrap it up.
I had one more thought on the whole political situation in the U.S. and the world right now, and what Andy said about the U.S. trying to police the world and itself at the same time, and it's just not really working. Resentment for the federal government
Is at all-time
is
high.
at an all-time high in the United States. I mean,
Absolutely.
I would say, obviously I haven't lived through it, so I couldn't say for sure, but I'd say we've eclipsed the hatred that people had for the feds in the Vietnam War. You know what I mean?
And it's honestly
Yeah.
more
And
likely that this spark might come from inside America.
It's
than
it's a
outside.
50-50
It almost
right
did
now.
with the whole BLM George Floyd thing, which is a
Oh
separate
yeah,
topic,
that was
but just
a
the
whole
amount
thing,
of
and
like
then Now with the
Craziness.
Texas situation, if the federal government decides to retaliate against Texas, I have no doubt that Texas will answer in kind, and the U.S. will
Implode. Civil War
implode
II.
immediately.
I still
all it
think
takes is
Vietnam was
one
much
thing.
more hatred for the federal government than right now.
Wasn't the last time the actual U.S. Army was deployed inside the borders of the country was the Civil War?
Yeah.
No.
No, that can't be
Didn't they
right.
send the
I don't-
army to like
yeah.
a college or
Emergencies.
something back?
No,
with, like,
that was
racism and stuff,
national.
or-
I'm pretty sure that was National Guard.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
okay.
National Guard. Normally,
Yeah.
it's handled by the National Guard. The actual U.S. military, very rarely gets deployed.
It's
within the
it's not
United
permitted
States.
by law to deploy inside
Yeah.
the borders of the country.
Well,
That's
and
why we
that's
have the National Guard.
kind of what I've been seeing about the Texas situation. If the federal government decides to respond by sending actual U.S. military in, that is essentially that's crossing the Rubicon. That's what.
No,
That's
but
what
that's because
it is.
what I was
Yaka
going-
Alia
that's what I
est
was going into saying
Miamicus.
earlier is that the ultimate, like the commander in chief is the president, so he can take ultimate command of that National Guard. And if that National Guard in that state doesn't comply, he has 49 others to choose from.
Mhm.
So like,
Well, with that accord that's just been signed between 24 of the 50 states, he's got
27
26
now.
others to call on.
you're right.
27 now.
You're right.
It's going
But
up.
I feel like at that point you're not prepared.
No, each individual
would-
state is 100% not prepared to fight the federal government.
Hmm.
However,
Together,
if
though.
the National Guards in all the states that have signed on board with Texas decide to mobilize against the federal government, man,
Shot.
that's horrifying to think about.
And if I was
Yes.
China, Russia, or Iran,
Oh,
North
that's
when you
Korea,
strike.
that's
an
that's the
instant
that's my happy
opportunity.
day. I'll be
The
taking
U.S.
a Happy
devolves
Meal,
into civil
please.
war, and the rest of the world is up for grabs at that point for places like China or Russia.
Yeah, real quick,
It's-
just like
It's insane, actually, and kind of horrific to think about. But if the U.S. goes down, we are going to bring the rest of the world down with us,
pretty much,
whether we're directly involved or not.
Yep.
because we're all connected at least.
I mean, look at all the economic shit. You can look at it just from that without even getting into the military or political side of things. The 2008 economic collapse. The U.S. went down, the U.S. economy tanked, and the rest of the world followed immediately.
We're too big to
It-
fail.
We're too big to fail, and if we do fail, everyone's going to fail with us.
Yep.
Oh, and let alone if your economy is already bad before we failed. Whew.
It's all over.
Yeah.
And by the way, that country that has the worst economy, when that does happen, be aware when they do start coming back, because they are going to be the next Germany, the next Fourth Reich. That's what makes a country so hate-filled, when you deprive them economically to the point where they are the lowest on the totem pole, when they were at least a middle to a high class standard. I mean, we're talking about the amount of hatred that can come out of that, dude, is insane. When you got fucking kids rolling red wagons filled with trillions of whatever they were called, the Frankfurts or whatever, the German dollar in like the 1920s.
Reichsmarks?
Yeah, right.
No, they were.
Right,
They
right,
were.
right.
They weren't Reichs. Were they
No,
Reichsmarks in the 20s?
No, they were francs.
They were Franks. Yeah.
Because it was they used I think French currency at that time.
Yeah, and they were
But either way, it
devalued
was
so
like
much.
trillions of dollars for a loaf of bread. Like the equivalent of what we would have to pay in America had been like, 5-6 cents maybe for a loaf of bread. But
Yeah, they
these
were
people
printing money.
these kids were wheeling around wheelbarrows of just fake monopoly money, basically. I mean, those kids are gonna grow up knowing what they had to go through, seeing everybody else around them not having to do this shit. They're gonna
Mhm.
be filled with so much more hate than everybody else, man.
Yes, sir.
So much more hate.
Well, so yeah, it's
All
definitely gonna
right.
be an interesting year and a interesting economic situation
yeah.
and geopolitical situation that we'll have to keep tabs on and see what goes on and hope for the best. And
I have one more point to make.
ooh,
Oh,
what you got?
gosh,
What you
Cody.
got?
In terms of if the U.S. goes tits up, we produce almost 30% of the world's food.
Damn.
The United States is the most varied and fertile farmland on Earth.
We produce like fucking like everything in the world, bro. Come on now.
We make everything, and
Every-
the U.S. is the
everything.
world's. Hang on, I just had it up. Let me pull it back up.
Look at the gross
The US
domestic
is-
product, man.
Yeah, the U.S. is the world's largest producer of corn,
Yep.
the third largest for wheat, the fifth largest for potatoes. And those are
Idaho,
three
baby.
Very
huge
important.
staple foods. Huge staple corn. Holy shit! Everybody eats corn.
Yep.
Everybody
Also
in the
have
world eats
We
corn.
have a lot of
We
cattle.
eat something
have
with
a lot of
refined
pork.
corn in it.
Yeah, something to do
Yes.
with corn. And yeah, beef. I don't know if anybody outdoes
Pork.
the U.S. in beef and pork.
We
And
our
have textiles. We have
farm
cotton. We have tobacco.
we produce
All
damn
that
near
corn
everything.
can make alcohol, by the way.
And a lot of it
Steel.
gets exported. And like I said, if those big staples, especially, because the other stuff you can kind of live without, but if the big staple foods, if the world is
No.
suddenly cut off from the U.S.'s exports, that's gonna suck.
He's gonna go terrible.
That's also probably another reason why other countries around the world don't want America to go isolationist.
Yep.
Yeah, because they want it from us. They want to be able to export.
I can understand
Trade.
it.
Anyways,
Apparently,
sorry, yeah.
apparently India has the most cows in the world, but they don't
Yep,
produce
they
the
don't-
most beef,
they
but they have the most cows.
Huh.
because they don't eat cows.
That's 'cause
Yeah.
they don't
They-
kill them.
They don't kill them. They take their shit and wipe it on their food before they fucking eat it.
No, guys, they're a superpower. Remember, they said
Yeah.
2020, they're a superpower now.
Yeah,
Soon to
according
be
to
a
India, they're a
superpower.
superpower.
Sweet.
Cool.
Well,
All right.
According to me, I'm a superpower too. All right.
oh, aren't we all?
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
one of the largest YouTubers of all time. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yes,
according
sir.
to
Superpower,
according to me,
baby.
Helena, Montana is the capital of the United States. So that's just
Dang right.
keep that. You know what I mean? I
Putting
don't
that
know.
out
No.
there.
It's all
According to
say
me,
bullshit.
large
You
and
say
sad,
that-
baby.
Say that 3 times, Joe Biden winds up in your bathroom.
Oh
The
no!
government.
Say it in the
You'll
mirror,
be
baby. Say
going
it
to
in the
brush
mirror.
your teeth, and you'll close the mirror, and he's there sniffing your hair.
Sniffing your neck. You got luscious hair.
Don't vote for me. You're not black.
It's okay if you just
No.
live up or down
Cut
the
the
stairs. You'll be
podcast.
fine because then he'll fall.
Ty,
The
Oh my
hell?
god. Oh yeah, he couldn't get into my apartment. My elevator's broken. You got to go upstairs.
Oh.
Yeah, and I live downstairs, so we're safe.
We're all good.
Jake lived upstairs. We're good. Tyler, you're fucked.
Tyler, you're fucked. I'm sorry to
Oh.
hear.
This
Sorry to
man
say.
ain't got no stairs.
Joe
But
Biden is coming to your house.
No, but I have a door on my house. All right, he can't open a door.
Oh, okay.
Come on now.
That's true.
Come on now.
He
You don't
inher-
need
he
to do
inherited
that.
that from George Bush. Doesn't know how to open doors.
God damn it.
9/11 opened the door to the Middle East, and all I'm saying is, W might have something to do.
Jesus.
Bush
I
beans,
cannot-
baby.
I cannot pronounce nuclear.
Now watch it dry.
Yeah.
Now
That-
water down.
Iran has
Chemical
Nuke-
weapons.
nuclear weapons of mass destruction.
Yes, we're ready to start presenting the George W. Bush wing of the new local library. It's going to be more interactive. It's going to focus a little less on the books. It's gonna be real good for our kids and their learning environment.
Oh my god.
Well, that was
Yeah, we
awesome.
One thing Republicans and Democrats can agree on: George W. Bush was a fucking idiot.
Yes, sir.
Yup.
That's why it's a good meme.
Yup. Anyways.
Thank you, Jake, for joining us. Hope you had a good time.
I did. That was quite lovely. Thank you for not pitching me out of the podcast at the first sign of a left-leaning comment.
Is that a
I did
liberal
call you a liberal.
to the
which
shadow
is
zone?
Boomer.
really-
Which
Boomer.
I shut that shit down. Fuck you. I am not a liberal.
Libtard,
Go
motherfucker.
down
I
to
got it.
Taco Bell and give me a blast.
Thank
Well, thank you to anyone who tuned in, and we'll see you in the next time. Peace out. Always trust the podcast.